Grandpa, we have old fishing net in the barn. Why don't we fix them a net? It would be good. We would catch a lot of fish, and the proceeds of the sale would buy a billiard table for us.
Oh, my dear, antiquities are the history, and your grandfather and your father and I were engaged in fishing, because since the rule of the Nogias, then Kalmusk, and even if we take the next period closer to us, do you think why Russian Kazakh await the Ural coast? Do you like fish?
Of course, grandfather. I will become a fisherman. I will earn a lot.
Oh, my dear, you think about the benefits, speaking of money, and we were primarily interested in the craft itself, and not the revenue and benefit from it. From birth, all the talk was about fish. I recognize the whole history of fishing, like the back of my hand. And you say money? But I cannot blame you for these words. After all, the famous old man Garius, about whom you know, walked around the coast of the Ural River in search of profit, benefit, money. You understand? First quarter of the 16th century, the coast of the Ural River became the site of escape free sinkers and peasants. The Volga Kazakh, who did not want to recognize the power of the Tsarist Russia having settled on the coast. They began to fish here, organized their small fishery. At this time, the first encampment of the township Ushuk appeared. Initially, those were a special device for fishing, consisting of camp, a small town with a wooden fence across the riverbed of piles. They were installed to intercept certain fish, which during spawning rise of the surface of the water.
ішіне толған балықтан анау талдан жасалынған
The wooden uychurs were filled up with the fish before that they could barely stand. The peculiarity of salmon is that their place is spawning fresh water. They flew in large flocks into the fresh water of Ural. By the end of the 30s of 17th century, the government transferred the fish wealth of the Ural and the waters of the Emba into the ownership of the merchants of the Guriev dynasty. In addition, the merchants of the Guriev, who had the support of the Tsar, were obligated to establish fortresses of the shore. Thus, Garius Nazariev, the founder of the commercial and industrial bourgeoisie in Russia, together with the three sons, Mikhail, Ivan, and Andrei, began to master the fishing industry in the region of the Ural and Emba rivers. 13th to 14th years of the 17th century. It can be said that with the arrival of the Russian merchants, especially from the times of Garias, the foundations of fishing began to be laid. The local residents became interested in fishing, in using the riches of the area, in gaining the benefits from selling fish products. Excessive activity of strangers on the coast of caused discontent to those who had long ago moved here and made the coast of the Ural their habitat for Russian Kazakhs. Visitors were subjected to respond to robberies by city robbers. In addition, the wooden fortress was not able to withstand with the unexpectedness of nature. In order to protect the commercial farms to ensure the overall coastal protection of the river, the government decided to build a stone fortress on the right bank of the Ural. The construction of the stone fortress began 7 kilometers from the mouth of the river, last for several years. The older names of this area on the coast of the Ural, Aktobe, Laeti, Ushik, Kutulkent, after the merchant Guriev was substantiated here, were transformed into the Nizhny Ural, Ust, Uitsky. When the name Guriev gradually came,
Bunlar
these people had great financial opportunities. They established a support of Tsar. In the 1642, the construction of the city began. The internal economic policy of Moscow had a significant impact on the social structure of the city. The population of the Guriev consists of the peasants and those who were involved in the state of economy, and the fishermen work under the jurisdiction of the state and palace farms. Fish and fish products were exported by ships and boats, first to Astrakhan and then Central Russia. If we rely on some historical data, then in the period 1640 till 1667, the profit from the oral fisheries amounted to 500,000 rubles of silver. Thus, in that period, a new channel of inflow of wealth into the state treasury was opened.
мына қызыл балықтың
At that time, huge reserves of salmon were in the Caspian Sea, and it was the Ural River that was reaching it. According to the data of 1718, it is known that the March-September there was a fish captured of 8,144 sturgeon. The incoming and outgoing books indicate that 4,870 great sturgeon, 3,441 sturgeon, 16,900 starch sturgeon, 115 barrels of black caviar were sent to the markets of the Tsarist Palace and the Center Pervin. From 1770s, Guryev became not only trade center but also a transportation center, led to the expansion of trade relations between Moscow and eastern countries. In 1751, the Guryev uchkus were put for liquid trading, and on May 25, 1772, an order was issued to transfer them to the Ural Army with an annual compensation of 5,406 rubles. According to historical data, in the 70s of the 18th century, 800,000 salmon were caught in the spring. 150,000 puds of caviar were produced, and the proceeds from it were 24,000 silver coins.
ол кезде былай болған.
At that time, the fishing were caught with gaff hooks. That gaff hooks, it was such a long wooden pole with a hook at the end, which they caught and pulled the fish out. The cost of such a fish was 2 till 3 times more than 24,000 silver money. This shows that at the time, the fishing industry was highly developed. Fish products were delivered to the Tsarist palace. Further, it gradually reached Paris, France, and England. This indicates that in those days, the salmon was very valuable and its value was transcendental.
Grandfather, it turns out that this Ural River, its waters and fish wells were inherited from the descendants of Guryev, like these old nets.
Of course not. You know how many countries have passed since the time of Guryev? Life does not stand still. However, industry is, whether oil or fish or any others. It changed like the country itself. You know the history. After the revolution, Soviet regime was established and great change began.
Yes, grandfather, I get it. May I ask you one more question?
Sure you may.
You said Nagyas, Kazakh, or Guryas. Where are our Kazakhs? Did they even catch fish?
Coming of the Kazakh to the fishing industry is the whole story. Whether you know or not, in the Bukay Horde, there lived a Kazakh Karaol Koja, Babajano. He was a foreman. Here this man pointed to the Russian travelers, gave a landmark, helped them bring the scheme of the land plots and reservoir. Thanks to him, I think that the Kazakh began to fishing. At that time, Koja Babajano bought fish in the places of primary processing of fish and sold them to the Kazakhs, gradually bringing the Kazakh closer to these places. And so, beginning in 1835, he laid the foundations for fishing among the Volga-Ural Kazakhs. Foundation was laid and gradually the industry began to develop. In 19th century, Utegali Taneshev, on the northern side of the Caspian, had 5 fishing and primary processing sites. Thus, he was recognized as one of the best entrepreneurs in the fishing industry and was awarded a diploma as one of the best among the 10 business people in Russia. And in 1890, the Kazakhs were already able to fishing along with the Russians. In 1747, the first so-called fish office was opened. From August 25, 1865, the entire Caspian Volga fishing industry was managed in Astrakhan. Development of the fishing industry over the years of the existence of the Soviet regime, like other branch of society, acquires an entirely new character. The creation of the All-Union Association, Kazpruba, gave a powerful impetus to the industry. Created in February 1920, the giant Caspian fish and seal fishery intensified its work. In those years, fish cooperatives were created, which could voluntarily join and become their members. Starting from 1923 till 25, all fish guilds were created. They were called fishing artel. Then they were renamed to collective farm. During our childhood, 50 fish collective farm functioned throughout our region and in the Mangostau region. I personally saw with my own eyes 20 of those collective farms. Today again there is no catch. Not that there is a salmon, not even a simple fish. The times.
Grandfather, you said that we would be on the shore all day. Why do you remove fishing rods?
You know that if your grandfather from the time to time does not stretch a waist, then he will not be able to move them. Let's go to the park for a walk. If you want, then we can return.
Oh, we will go to the park.
If you want, then we can return.
Grandfather, it turns out that your grandfather spent 10 days at sea. Scared probably?
Yeah, my dear, but the person who chose to fishing industry is already ready for such difficulties from the very beginning. Do you think it is easy to be a fisherman? It is necessary to withstand all the hardship of nature, cold and heat. When you walk in icy water, the cold chills the whole body of the brain. You tremble from chilling wind and cold enough to freeze the balls of the brass monkey.
Ayıp
You know,
adamsın diyoruz.
grandfather?
Russell?
Temiz деген бұл
See, some people think that working as a fisherman is easy. No, this is hard work. They work in the cold, the furious cold. The sea, as you yourself know, is by its nature a special force. If a strong wind and storm rise at the sea, the ice can break and ice collapse may occur. Here, there was such a story. We can say that at that time, Mikoyan was one of those who invested a lot of work in helping fishermen. If you rely on historical data, then there is information that on March 6, 1934, a strong storm from the southwest carried 234 fishermen from Guryev Fish Collective Farms into the open sea. March 14, they were rescued and brought to the shore. Similar events were recorded in 1885, 1915. It is you. You finally came. I thought I would never see you. I came. Even I did not believe that I would came. A strong hurricane from the southwest carried us along with boat to open the sea. Now everything is all right. After 8 days, help arrived. Are all alive and well? We waited for you, counting the days. God be praised. Yeah, God be thanked. In 1930, Pershing July, in the city of the Guryev, the first fish industry partnership was created. In September, a new Ural-Caspian State Fishery Association was formed. According to the result of that year, Guryev region became a winner in USSR, having surrendered 6.5 million pounds of fish to the state. On May 1st, 1931, a fridge for storing fish was launched in a festive atmosphere. Commissar of National Supply of the USSR, Anastas Mikhayon, who visited Guryev, specially acquainted with the work of the refrigerator, and made a report on the prospect of the fishing industry in the bureau of the district committee. In the same month, a month of mass collectivization of the fish industry is announced. Starting from this month, representatives of the local authorities envisage urgent measures for the development of fisheries. Tasks such as the opening of the research station, a meat factory, a wool factory, the settlements of the fishing curse. The opening of the educational institution for the training industry specialists were set. These were issues were the focus of the attention and the Kazakh Soviet national economy. It was decided to clean up the mouth of the Oral River, convert the refrigerator to the fish factory for the 1 year, organize the Republican Trust of the fishing industry in Almaty, relocate 500 qualified fishermen from the bank of the Aral and Balkhash, and establish a state fishery association Republican office and open a representative office there.
алғашқы кезде балық
Initially, the fish management was created. During the Soviet government began to look for ways to unite fish cooperatives. From that moment, especially in 1933, after it becomes aware of our fish wealth, the construction of the fish cannery factory began. In May 1933, a new plant was launched, which allowed processing of 60,000 containers of fish per year. On the basis of this enterprise, the foundation was laid for future working village, Balıkçı. In November of the same year, the fish cannery was commissioned, which ranks second in the USSR in terms of capacity. It consists of fish canning, fish and caviar plants, a 2,100 tons refrigerator of 130 tons, and from 1934 it include floating fish factories on the Oral River, repair and service facilities and subsidiary farms. In April 1935, People Commissar of the Food Industry of the USSR, Anastas Mikhayon, came to get acquainted with the work of the new plants. The labor collectives, which had promised to release 10 million canned fish before the end of the year, radically changed the attitude of the government official toward the Guryev fishing industry. At the meeting of the party activists, Anastas Mikhayon noted that the capabilities of the Kazakh side of the Caspian Sea, the Guryev region, were not assessed at the proper level. He objects to the Astrakhan fishery, which gives 10,000 tons of fish per year, was considered as the main one, and the Guryev, which gives 27,000 tons of fish per year, as a reserve fishery. Fishing industry of the Guryev region must be industry leader. He put forward an initiative to deprive it of its dependence on Astrakhan. For example, the fishery industry of the Oral Caspian region belonged to the Soviet Union, and the Aral Balkhash or reservoir belonged to the Kazakh Soviet Republic. On December 25, 1939, the position of the Minister of the Fisheries was approved. Shaykh Abshir was appointed to it. Shaykh Abshir invested his work in 20,000 fishermen. He was able to get a reservation for them, thanks to which they were exempted from conscription to the front, to the army. Here in 1939, the formation of the fishing industry began in the Atırau region. During the per-war period, significant events in the history of the fishing industry took place, such as the opening of the Guryev Fishing Technical Secondary School, the launch of the motor fishing station, the creation of the special commission created from the academic scientific to the study of the Caspian Sea.
Grandfather, if your father did not participate in the war, how could he have won so many orders and medals? So you can become a hero without having been in war.
Son, my father is the hero of the labor, not only frontline soldier, but also all oil workers, fishermen, drilling workers, blacksmiths, grain growers, and similar workers of the labor made a great contribution to the victory. Is not the hero your grandfather who sent the carts to front of the fish catching it? Tell me.
Москва. Началась Великая Отечественная война советского народа против немецко-фашистских захватчиков. Победа будет за нами!
Everything is for the front, everything is for victory. Under this motto during the Great Patriotic War, along with all Soviet people, the Guryev fishermen also worked, according to a special decree of the Committee of Defense. The fishing industry on the coast of the Caspian Sea and the labor collectives of this industry were under special protection. Indeed, due to the simplicity and availability of processing and cooking methods, fish products were in the category of main products that were sent to the front. Guryev fishermen provided fighters not only with sturgeon fish but also with thousands of tons of crab, perch, roach and catfish. The work of our fishermen during the war years was very great. So in 1946, Jean-Bater Sarbapiev brought the Roskovsky to the front fish and spawned from Atyrau. Two heroes of socialist labor came from our region. One of them is Aynash Bajikatova, the other is Utgenov. The names of the following famous heroes can also be mentioned. During the war years, Kairosh Tastaubekov, who later became minister, Uzkak Muhammetolo Utegaleyev, and in the Soviet times, Kairzhan Ustula Aliyev, and many others. In general, the fishing industry in Soviet time was in its heyday. Alright, if we say that you are the one from the Eremekov bridge who caught 120 kilograms of sturgeon, they will immediately take you without an exam. The war is over. Now we need to think about the future. I want to enter to the fish technical school. Upon returning home, I will begin to collect documents. Yes, the catch was rich, therefore we earn big money. We will rejoice in the family that is waiting for us at the home. Come on. In the post-war period, the fish industry retained its status as the main branch of the food industry since the 1950s. Small fish collective farms have become larger. Switch to the system of the territorial administration from October 1st, 1963. 6 collective farms united and opened the Bautinsky State Fish Inspectorate. The situation of the collective farmers, the state of the economy at the time was very difficult. The villagers did not have a passport. They did not have the right to leave the village. Secondly, the wage of the fishermen were very low. Third, the fisheries sector did not have fixed assets on the balance sheet, fixing gear and equipment. There was no sea vessel and boats. At that time, there was a Guryev Territorial Production Directorate of the fishing industry, to which many enterprises of the fishing industry belong, such as the Guryevsky Fish Canning Refrigeration Plant, shortened by Fish Plant. Shortened by Plant was the largest fish processing enterprise not only in the region but also in the entire Caspian Basin. Every year, out of 12 collective farms in the Dengiz district, more than 120,000 containers of various types of fish were received and processed. In 1965 till 1971, the plant, following the result of the all-union socialist competition, repeatedly won the Red Challenge banner and received the first cash prize of the USSR Ministry of Fisheries and the Central Committees of Trade Union of Fishery Workers, the All-Union Fishery Industry Association, Kaspruba, the Guryev Territorial Production Directorate of the Fish Industry and Guryev Region Union. In 70s of 20th century, the fishing industry of Guryev region was a complex, diversified economy, united the Guryev and Botino fish factories, Guryev, Botino and Chkolov shipyard, management, Mangishlag Rib-Holod float, shortened by and Bedanovsky fish factories of Astrakhan, Dengiz Repaid and Service Station, Karpol, Guryev Marine Fishing Technical College, Logistic Office, Construction and Installation, Management and 18 fish collective farms.
кеңес
This
үкіметі
industry was
бұл
under the
салаға
attention of the Soviet
Раз,
government. It
назар
can be said that the training of the young
Шағын
specialists,
шабақтар
the
өсіретін
creation of the small
станцияларды
fry breeding station,
болғаннан
the
кейін
development
кеңес
of the
үкіметі
fishery
тұсында
industry under the
жаңағы
Soviet
балықтың
government was stable. Resolution of the government of the Kazakh SSR and Ministry of Fisheries of the USSR of 1973. Current state of development prospect of the fishing industry of the Guryev region contributed to the rise of the industry. During these days, the whole of the culture of the fishermen of the 600 places, the caviar workshop with a capacity of 1,000 tons, equipped with a modern import equipment, the pressure switch collector were built and put into operation. The fish cannery was reconstructed, which allowed producing up to 22 million pieces of canned food per year. Finished canteens was bought where the fishermen ate. Buses for transportation. We carried out in all the workshops. Bought large equipment for the plant. After, in 1986, I moved from management to a production association. Then the production association, Guryev Reprom, opened, which managed all the fields of the region. After I was appointed head of this association, I asked a question to Moscow that the collective farm should not obey us. As a result, the union of the collective farm, named after Guryev Rubak, was created. Thus, the collective farms were separated from us. We began to deal only with the processing of the received fish and the fish products. Our cannery take a pride of placing in the processing of fish and the production of the fish products. It's rendered the state. In the 80s to the 90s, about 1,000 people worked there. These works in return make it possible to offer quality products for a market. Consumer demands increased. 57 type of the high-quality fish products. 33 type of the canned fish, perch filled, sturgeon, caviar, smoked and dried fish were produced. Korean fish products have become recognized not only in the Soviet Union but also in the countries of near and far abroad. Just one example, our Atro has become famous for its ford fish and caviar. We reached our level under the Soviet government. At the time, we had the fishery technical school. Specialists who studied at this college worked in different parts of our country. In 1977, if I am not mistaken, 108 tons of salmon were caught in Atro from the water of the Ural. After that, it can be considered the beginning of the destruction of salmon was laid. As a result of the decrease in the stock of the fish stock at the site of the Guryev fish cannery, built in 1933, which was famous for the whole Union, nothing remained. Today, we have dedicated not fishing, but fishing history. Have we not, son?
Yes, grandfather. Thank you. I learned a lot.
Did you call your father? Pick your Upsarn son. Yes, I called. Here he has already arrived himself. Oh, arrived already. Father, what are you doing here with Sanjar? It rains cats and dogs. Let's go here. Grandson asked me about the story. We walked around the city, telling about the past. I told you that I know myself. Nobody can tell. What has the marrow in the story for us? Oh, excursion. Let's go then. We'll stop at the way at the war. Then I'll take you. Let's go then. Get in the car. We'll stop at the way to the war. Then I'll take you too. Let's go. In April 1992, the Atra Fishery Production Association was formed, directly subordinate to the Committee of Fishery under the Ministry of the Agriculture of the Republic of Kazakhstan. After the collapse of the Soviet Union and independence, Kazakhstan itself became the owner of the black caviar, which used to go to Moscow. Thus, new opportunities were opened for the industry, which fully took over the management of the sturgeon fish pound. From 1992 till 1996, 14 mechanized line of equipment were installed at the plant. This allowed not only to improve working conditions but also to improve the quality of the products. A number of equipments added to the device of the German, Swiss, Japanese productions. For example, the German installation for the production of artificial ice, Zigra, installed on the Atыraускich plant facilitated the work of 120 workers associated with the heavy physical labor. Previously, they themselves stabbed the ice, collected loaded into the vessel manually. In addition, the line for the production of pike perch field of the German company Baiterek allowed to produce packaged products instead of frozen, which was previously sold at reduced prices, and the automated line allowing sausage to be made from pike perch has become good news not only for combine but also for consumers. Products of Atыraускich, which became a brand, did not return from exhibitions without rewards. There were times when these products made a conspicuous figure of the United States, San Diego. The awards received at the various exhibitions and competitions testified to competitiveness and products quality. However, the decline of the economy during the year of the independence and the developments of the country also had an impact on the fishery industry. In 2012, Atıraускich officially left the industry. Today, the state of fisheries is stable. Atıraускich Fisheries Department faces serious challenges. In general, in the region there are 19 farms engaged in the extraction and processing of fish in the mouth of the river Oral, Kigach and Caspian Sea. Among them are such large objects as Amangildu LLP, Injo Marjan LLP, and Kaspi Balık PC. For the past 12 years, I have been working in the fisheries as fish products for domestic markets. We produce fillets from carp, pike perch. Great demand for fish perch. We process fish with the least technology and export it. Has introduced standard of the compliance of veterinary norms of the European Union. This allowed direct export of fish products to the European Union. Fish products of the region are exported to Russia, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Ukraine, to the CIS countries and EU countries, to France, Germany, Lithuania, Latvia during the international exhibitions. Expo 2017. Over 27 tons of fish products consisting of 30 species were sold. All products were presented by the Almangendu LLP. At present, our company has exported about 1,500 tons for 9 months of 2018. Compared to the same period of 2017, about 2,000 tons of product were produced. We currently export our products to 10 countries. Most importantly, we think to take it to the countries of Europe. One of the productions cooperative in the region is Rakusha. The head of this workforce created in 1998. Make no secret of the fact that the summer fishing season is more productive than the autumn one. Fisherman is depressed that the fishing season has been moved 1 month. In the autumn, the level of the seawater decreases, which causes a low catch. Another problem that worries the head of the cooperative in the lack of specialties. According to him, young people in our time do not want fishing. Young people now do not want to work in the fisheries industry. Basically, the old personnel work here. The labor of the fisherman is not easy. In the Oral, we use equipment. We put the nets on the so-called catcher. The fish is pulled out by large nets and assembled into a slot device. And in the Caspian Sea, the fishing process goes the old way. 40-50 meters nets are put and float there in the light boat. This does not meet the requirement of the modern technology. Episode 7 conversation.
Aqui?
Dad, you said you would stop by for work. Can we see too? We want to continue the...
Bolacığım, I'm also interested to see how the sturgeon fry grow. How do you look at it? Good, father.
Grandpa, look how small they are.
Yes, sturgeon is the most valuable fish. What a caviar it has. The number of the sturgeon fish began to decrease sharply, therefore they switched to the artificial fish rearing. The peculiarity of this breed of fish is that it returned to the area where it spawned.
You say that she does not have her native place, then I want to call this fish patriot.
Patriot. The peculiarity of this fish of this breed is that return to the area where it spawned.
Oh, they are so much alike. Where is the patriot?
Sanjay, let's wait for your father outside. Atıraускih Sturgeon Fish Farm, which is aimed to the preservation and reproduction of the sturgeon in the Ural-Caspian Basin, is of particular importance in the fisheries of the region. This plant, the foundation of which in 1997 was laid by the President Nursultan Nazarbayev with his own hands, has the capacity of raise 3.5 million fry a year.
құрылу себебі
This plant was built due to the fact that first, according to the contact between the Caspian state, we had to reimburse the used biological resources for our Caspian Sea, which we began to use from the moment we acquire sovereignty, and on the other hand, to preserve sturgeon fish species. For 20 years, the plant has produced more than 100 million fry, including 5 species of these sturgeon. Seeing the homogeneity of the species of this fish caught in the net, we are witnessing that the fry raised to the water area are returning. The factory workers say. In accordance with the instructions of the head of state, it is planned to reconstruct the enterprise, which will operate on the basis of the Bulgarian technology. In the region, the capacity of 2 sturgeon breeding plants amounts to 7.5 million per year, and after reconstruction it will double. In addition, it will be possible to maintain brood stock at the plant itself.
қайта жабдықтауға болмаған жағдай.
Since there has been no conversation at the plant, we kept about 200 sturgeon fish here. We have fish that we started to grow, starting with caviar, and now there are no conditions to keep them longer because we need a pond where they have to spend their winter. This is the plans for the future. If in the winter we had a pond, now 2 plants could contain more than 200 fry. The work of the dredging river to increase the fish resources is of great importance. The last time the dredging of river in the region was done in the 80s of the last century. Over the past 40 years, the water level in the region's water has not only drastically decreased, but there has also been an excessive population of the Oro River. In same areas, the water level is only 40 till 50 centimeters. Therefore, today in Atara region, large-scale work is underway to dredge the Kigach and Ora rivers. Land reclamation and dredging will create conditions for increasing the biological diversity of the aquatic environment. populations. The main objective of the activities on the Kigach and Oral River is to increase the population of the endangered valuable fish species in the fish channel, ensure the free passage of the fish for spawning, and create favorable conditions for the biodiversity of the river environment. In the region's fisheries, 2 projects are being implemented to grow marketable fish. One of them is the project of the Caspian Royal Fish Limited Liability Partnership, developed by the Dutch technology. In September 2014, Caspian Royal Fish LLP launched a fish farming complex in a closed water supply system for growing commercial sturgeon fish and obtaining fodder caviar. This complex will allow in the shortest possible time to grow commercial fish in the closed system of water supply in controlled temperature conditions. Estimated capacity of the plant is 100 tons of marketable fish, 1 ton of fodder caviar. In 2017, the Caspian Royal Fish Limited Partnership produced 26 tons of marketable fish and 225 kilograms of fodder caviar. This year's performance is 35 tons of marketable fish and 500 kilograms of fodder caviar. Products are sold in Kazakhstan, namely in Almaty and Atyrau. Another project launched in May 2017 is the project of the Lugovsky Stud Farm Limited Liability Partnership called Building a Cage for Growing Sturgeon Fish on the Oro River in the Atyrau region. If at the first stage of the project in 2018 till 2020, it is planned to breed and market 25 tons of sturgeon fish at a cost of 350 million tenge. Then at the 20th stage, scheduled for 2021 till 2023, it is planned to increase the production of sturgeon fish to 100 tons and fodder caviar up to 1 tons.
Начальный коллектив был небольшой, у нас было всего 6 человек, это 6 энтузиастов, бывший работник комбината.
Initially, we had a small staff, only 6 people, 6 enthusiasts, former combined workers. Our main task was to try to grow the most unpretentious, quickly gaining weight fish, Russian sturgeon. During these 3 years, we have created bases. We now have 10 cages, 38,000 fishes with a total weight of 110 tons.
Начиная от 2,5 килограммов до, сейчас у нас имеется рыбы, доходящие до 30 килограммов.
That's about the state of operations in the fishing industry of the region, whose history spans over 4 centuries. There are specific tasks ahead, clear goals. If we take advantage of the area of technology which opened up global opportunities for humans, this means that the day is coming when the second wind of this industry will be found. Abroad they breed fish, catch it, take picture and then let it go. Ecotourism is called. In general, fish grows very quickly. Who understands the fisheries will tell you about it. I think that this fishing industry has a great future.
Ata, among my peers, friends and classmates, I did not see anyone who would answer the question, who would you like to become? Fisherman. Everyone wants to become an IT specialist, lawyer, economist. Listening to you, I really want to be a fisherman.
Well done indeed. Young people do not appreciate this noble ancient profession. Of course, being a fisherman is hard work, but the result of this work lead to the wealth and well-being.